It is now my pleasure to present our student speaker for the class of 2012, James Belisario.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here today. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Ryan, Dean Grimes, Dean Minchin, Dean Sampong, and Associate Dean Agaton for inviting me here today to be the student speaker, and most of all, to represent you, the graduating class of 2012. I'm sure we all can agree that we would never have reached this milestone today had it not been for the love and support of those most close and dear to us. I'm talking about our parents, our spouses, our significant others, our children, and of course, our Facebook friends. Class of 2012, will you please join me in giving a big round of applause to all our family members and loved ones who are here today to support you. Thank you. I also want to take a moment to recognize that many members of our graduating class are not here today due to circumstances beyond their control. We also have family members and loved ones far away who could not be here. We wish you were here, and believe me when I say we are thinking of you. When I was asked to be the student speaker, you might find this hard to believe. But at first, I was hesitant to accept it. I asked myself, why me? You see, I did my research, and I found out that all the prior commencement speakers before me had amazing credentials that eclipsed anything that I've ever accomplished. Unlike speakers before me, I've neither written nor published any books. I've never been interviewed by the press. And although I did earn my law degree in the normal course of business and in everyday social settings, I don't have the privilege of being referred to as a doctor like some of you here today. So the truth of the matter is, I'm just an average individual. Now there's a common misconception out there that if you attend law school, or if you attend graduate school, or if you pursue any type of college degree for that matter, it's automatically implied that you're smart. Now, don't get me wrong. Many of you graduating here today are academically inclined, and you know who you are, too. What I'm saying here is that I wasn't one of the lucky ones. I'm the youngest of 4 children. I have 2 older sisters and an older brother, and then there's me. And I'm very fortunate that 2 of my siblings are here today to cheer me on in the crowd. Truth be told, and to their credit, they're the ones who ended up with all the brains in the family. It's true. Me, on the other hand, I got stuck with all the good looks in the family. So in the end, things did work themselves out. So if you remember anything I tell you today, remember this. If an average individual like myself can struggle for 4 years from a rigorous academic institution like California Southern, and on top of that, have this rare privilege of speaking before a group of honorable guests and talented students, then that's proof positive that those of us who are average can still have a positive impact on other people. And you can quote me on that too. So what can I say? I'm just an average individual. I belong to that last generation that had to manually look up unfamiliar concepts in books that we call encyclopedias. Nowadays, everybody looks up people, places, and things on the internet using tools like Wikipedia, or better yet, they just Google it. I belong to that last generation that I had to take the time out of my busy schedule to sit down, compose, and personally handwrite a letter and then mail it to that family member or loved one. Nowadays, everybody sends emails or text messages, or they communicate via Skype or instant messaging. Folks, I'm painting this picture for you to illustrate the fact that we live in a rapidly evolving world, and it's impossible for anybody to predict what the future holds. But this much is true. Each of you graduating here today have proven two things. Number one, that you're resilient. And number two, that you are more than capable of handling whatever life throws at you. Think about that. And let me put this into perspective for you. Many of you, if not all of you, currently hold down full-time professional positions in your chosen fields of endeavor. And you did that while pursuing your degree. In fact, some of you work 2 jobs just to make ends meet. Many of you are busy with family obligations. In fact, some of you are raising children on your own as single parents. Let me ask you this, does any of this sound familiar? Because despite all of these competing priorities, and despite every possible socioeconomic barrier standing in your way, you stood firm in conviction. And in the end, you won. The fact that you're here today, wearing a cap and gown, proves that. Now think about this. Hailing from our School of Business could be the next Mark Zuckerberg, or perhaps the next Marissa Mayer. And hailing from our School of Behavioral Sciences could be the next Dr. Phil. Hey, it could happen, right? And hailing from our School of Law could be the next Judge Judy. Yes, I realize that last example was a little bit of a stretch, but work with me, people. It's a lot harder than you think to come up with the name of a lawyer that people are supposed to like, okay? California Southern has meant something different for each of us. But one thing's for sure. There's a sense of community between students and faculty and alumni that I'm sure will cascade beyond graduation. In fact, we've even developed our own culture, including special terminology, like the phrase, faculty mentor. California Southern's administration did an outstanding job in assembling some of the most gifted subject matter experts in the fields of business, behavioral sciences, psychology, and the law. And they all had one thing in common, too. They were all very good at forcing us outside of our comfort zone so that we could take what we've learned and apply it out there in the real world. Because out there, that's where the magic happens, not here in our comfort zone, but out there. And we all had our favorite faculty tour mentors. favorite faculty mentors. For me personally, and in no particular order, by the way, I'd like to thank Professors Celia Powley, Mike Neff, Stephen Klein, Jim Coulter, James Slack, Don Serafano, and Christine Green. Class of 2012, will you please join me in giving all of our distinguished faculty members, representing the schools of business, behavioral sciences, and the law, a big round of applause. Had it not been for their full commitment to us students and for their personalized attention, none of us would have received a first-rate education of this magnitude. And in retrospect, maybe that's the reason why each of us chose California Southern above all other universities. And for me personally, I can't think of a better place to have earned my law degree. And so here we are, we made it to graduation. Graduation marks the beginning of an exciting new journey that takes us to the next best chapter of our lives. Looking back as students, it's clear we all had to overcome some form of personal adversity that was unique to our circumstances. But each of us found consolation in knowing that we were there together, side by side, deep in the trenches. Looking forward as graduates, I challenge you to continue to diversify yourself from the rest of the crowd and to continue to live your life outside of your comfort zone. Today, we graduate not only as unique individuals, but as a richly diverse and close-knit community. And when we leave here today, let's not forget the obvious. Life is meant to be an experience. So if you're too preoccupied, constantly sending text messages or constantly updating your Facebook status, you might miss out on living in the moment. And you'll never stop to realize that the people who matter the most are standing right there in front of you. If we were to fast forward into the future, let's say 20 years from now, for good measure, and if people were to ask us if there's anything we wish we could have done differently in our lives, let's stand firm in conviction. And let's look at them confidently in the eyes. And let's respond with two simple words. No regrets. Thank you. Congratulations, California Southern University, class of 2012.